Hi there YouTube, Big G back again with another video, and you would have seen in one of my previous pickups at one of the auctions I was lucky enough to get 4 Xboxes. So I've been tinkering around with these Xboxes and getting them up and running, so I thought I'd do a quick short video on what I've been up to. So far 3 of the 4 Xboxes are working. The one needs a little bit of extra TLC, so that's the one I'm busy with now at the moment, just to make sure everything is 100% on it. So overall I think that's pretty good for that pickup that I did there. 3 out of 4 Xboxes working. So this is the white Xbox 360. It's a, I think its model is a Zephyr, if I looked it up correctly on the net. And I've taken the board out because I just want to do a few mods on it while I've got it out, and not really mods, but let's start with the first one over here. I mean, just move it a little bit closer. Now the first problem I picked up with these Xboxes is that I only got one power supply with them. So, and every one of them has a different power supply connector. So this one here has this funny this connector over here, totally different to the other one, so I couldn't use a power supply on it. So one of the simplest mods you can actually do on an Xbox 360 is just convert it to use with a PC power supply, and it actually works very, very well. Now I'm not going to go through it. You can see I've already done the mod, but basically, I mean, the Xbox is basically just a PC anyway, you know, in a console's clothing as such. So I've just basically just soldered on there, and you can get the diagrams and so forth off YouTube. I mean, there's a lot of channels that do this. That's why I'm not going to go through it all over again. But basically, I just soldered on there 3 ground wires, 3 12-volt wires, and one 5.5 volt wire on there. This then I just go and link up to my trusty old PC power supply, and I'm just using a normal old edge connector over here so that I can just line the wires up correctly. And you know, just a tip from me, just keep the wiring color the same. So on a PC power supply, your yellow is 12 volt, your black is obviously ground, and your red is 5 volt. And on one of the other Xboxes, once again, totally different. It doesn't just need a 5 volt, it also needs a 3.3 volt. So, and that is the orange wire that's on here. And yeah, also just remember, in order for your PC power supply to automatically come on, you've got to short out. If you have a look at your main edge connector over here, the main connector for there, you can see I've got this little bridge wire over there. You short out your green and your, if you have a look on there, there's a green wire. You got to just short out that green wire as well as the little earth wire, that I mean the black wire next to it, the ground wire next to it. And then as soon as power is switched on to your power supply, it will then automatically come on, so that you can fool it into thinking that it's connected up to a PC. So very, very simple little mod, and it works very, very well. Yes, I may put in a different connector and so forth, but you know, I'm not going to go and buy a proprietary power supply for this Xbox, because I mean, it works fine just like this, no problem, and I can use that same power supply with every one of the other Xboxes that I got. Now the next little bit of, call it TLC or maintenance, that I want to do on this board over here is that I want to redo the thermal paste that's or the heatsink paste underneath here, because these Xboxes run really, really hot. I've noticed that with all 3 of them. Switch them on, play them for half an hour to an hour or so forth, and it really gets hot. And I think it's all because of the fact that they've tried to put a PC into a console's clothes, and that generates a lot of heat. There's not much, you know, it can't really cool itself down properly. So I've taken the board out. So the next step is to get rid of these X clamps that are on the back here, and then I'm going to clean off the heat sinks, and then I'm going to just apply some, I've got here some thermal compound. This is just the one from Cooler Master. I like the Cooler Master stuff. It's a little bit more expensive than some of that other Chinese stuff that you get. It's also from China, so it makes that difference. A little bit more expensive, but yeah, hopefully it's going to transfer heat a lot better. And you know, these machines are, you know, between, I'm sorry, about 8, 9, 10 years old, maybe even a little bit older. I mean, the Xbox 360 has been around for quite a while, So that paste underneath here, you know, with the extreme heat that these Xboxes go through, is going to deteriorate, and so it's actually wise to replace it. And try get your Xboxes to operate for a little bit longer before they get that so-called dreaded red ring of death or something like that. I haven't come across it yet, so I don't want to come across it. So I'm going to take the heat sinks off and I'm going to reapply the paste to it. Okay, removing the X clamps. I finally figured it out. Let me see, maybe I can make it a bit easier for you. Basically take a long nose little pliers, stick it into that little opening that's over there. Let me hold the board up there so you can see there's a little opening there where it's connected to these almost looks like a screw. You put it in there, hold it sort of tight, bend it back, and you'll hear it clicks. Grabbing that side, there we are. So you can see it just clips the opposite side down. So your long nose, put it in the opening, just work it slowly across, and it will slowly push down, adds pressure to the middle, I take it, and then that then loosens the X clamp so that you can then remove it. Oh, there's my cat coming to visit me. And now it's just a matter of, there we are, and we've got it off. Takes a little bit of figuring out how to do it. It doesn't come off quite as easily as what I hoped, but anyway, now let's get the heat sinks off. Okay, so the heat sinks are now off, and it's now time to get rid of some of this old, you can see the old gunge over here, the old thermal paste that was on there. And I'm finding the best thing to use so far is this isopropyl alcohol. You know, you get it from the chemist, put it onto a cloth. You know, don't use a cloth that has a lot of fibers or anything like that. And then just rub it on there. It breaks it down slowly but surely, and it starts cleaning it off. You can see I've already gone and on the back of the old heat sinks there, I can see it's removed all of it from there nicely. You don't want to get all the old stuff off. Same there, it's also all removed, and you can see there slowly but surely as I'm rubbing, so it's coming off. Let me just hold that up a little bit over there. You can see it's starting to expose the little chip over there. And a little bit of elbow grease and it'll all come off. So let me get to it. Okay, so that's cleaned up. I mean, have a look at that. Using a bit of the isopropyl alcohol, cleaned all the gunge off it, and now it's a matter of applying the new thermal paste to it. Now the paste comes with this little plastic little scraper here, so I basically just go and put a little dash of the thermal paste onto the chip over there, like so. Yes, the pressure from the heat sinks will spread it out, but then I just use this little goodie that came with the thermal paste just to smear it all around on top of the chips, just so that when that pressure is applied, it's going to then spread it out on top. Now I don't quite know whether more is better or being frugal is better when it comes to putting this stuff on, but when I took the heat sinks off, I could see that the excess from the last application, which I take it was when it was put on in the factory, just gets squeezed out and sits on the side. So yeah, now time to put the heat sinks on. Okay, so I've placed the heat sinks back on the board, just held them in place, and then just put the X clamps back on. A little bit of pressure on them and then they clip on quite nicely. I hope I've done it correctly, but we will soon see. Okay, so I've started putting it back together. Time to do the old test. I've gone and put Gears of War 3 on. So I'm going to play a little bit of Gears of War 3. I'm sure that'll give it a bit of a workout, and then see how the temperature goes with this machine. And you can see here's the edge of the connector that I use through to the PC power supply, working fine, and I can enjoy a little bit of Gears of War 3. So let me play it for 20 minutes and see how it goes. Okay, so it's been running now for I think longer than 20 minutes or so. I must say I'm not enjoying Gears of War. Not my cup of tea. And if I feel at the back here, it's warm. Is it any cooler? Can't really tell. Hopefully it will still last longer. I think no matter what you do, I think these old Xboxes will run hot. But otherwise it seems to be running fine. I haven't had any switch offs, any problems with it. Let's hope that lasts. So guys, if you want to breathe a bit of new life into your Xbox, you know, change the thermal compound, or maybe if you just want to hack the old power supply unit. Well guys, that's 4 out of 4. This is the 4th Xbox that I said I couldn't get running earlier, and I've just got it running. This is a really badly beaten up one. I've done the same. If you look at the back there, just wired it up directly, made sure I had the right wires, and I finally managed to get it working. A lot of the buttons and that were missing this little piece over here. That button doesn't work anymore. You've got to only be able to switch it on by opening and closing the tray, but I've got that up and running. And as you can see, PES 2011 Pro Evolution Soccer is running on it. Makes a bit of noise. Only one of the fans is working, so I'll have to be careful about heating. But I also did the same thing as I did with the other Xbox. I put new thermal compound on it, on the heat sinks, so it should cool it down a bit easier. And we'll see how it goes. I'm going to let it run now for 20 minutes and see how it performs. So 4 out of 4. Very chuffed. I hope you found that useful. Cheers from me guys, keep it retro.